That's you and me, Christine, for the time being, and Maria.
Maria.
And gentlemen, Artemi and Michael, and Walid, whom we cannot see. Boys and girls.
And Daniel.
Is Daniel here?
Da.
Daniel, hi. Hi, Daniel. And assembled company. I would include the rest, you see. We're here tonight to listen to a brilliant story crafter who can weave a tale out of anything. You can give that man a stone and he'll make you a tale. It's incredible. So, Michael Kerins, we're yours to enchant.
Thank you very much. First, I've got a whole list of stories I'm going to tell you. And because I was programmed to do this with children, I'm going to treat you as children. Once upon a, this is called Wee Tom and the Bank Robbers. It's from the first of the Wee Tom books. And all the Wee Tom books have a expanding cover like this. So whatever the jacket that the boy is wearing here has something to do with his uncle's jacket, has something to do with the story. This is about a snowball fight. This is about bedtime. So the uncle is wearing pajamas. This is about cowboys. So the uncle is dressed as a kind of paranoid Dolly Parton kind of thing. It was a very cold time in Scotland when the snow was deep and crisp and even. And wee Tom, who's just a tiny little boy with 5 names, Thomas, Patrick, James, O'Neill, Thumb, he came walking into the living room and he said to his uncle, Uncle Dan, you promised, and he did this right across his heart, you promised me a snowball fight if the snow was 3 things, deep and crisp and even. How about a snowball fight? Now, his uncle didn't answer, but his uncle didn't ignore him. His uncle was lost in the newspaper, and there was a wall between them. It could have been brick, it could have been concrete, but it was a newspaper. Uncle Dan, you promised me a snowball fight if the snow was deep and crisp and even. How about the snowball fight? 3 times, 4 times, 5, his favourite number. He's got 5 names. Thomas, Patrick, James, O'Neill, Thumb. 5 times he shouted about this. He got so frustrated. He went out of the living room. He went across the hall into the small living room where there was a TV and a video recorder and a CD player and an Xbox, a Skybox, a this box, or that box, and every kind of thing there. And then, leaning against this equipment, there was a book, a diary, with a pencil down the sleeve of the book. And wee Tom went over to the book and gave it a dunt and a nudge like this, and it fell on the floor. And then he went over to this pencil. And on the top of the pencil, there was a tiny little rubber, an eraser in a brass silo. And he started to squeeze it. And he squished it. And he squashed it. And he squeezed it. And it made a lovely, rude farting noise like this. And slowly, very slowly, the little eraser moved up this brass silo and popped into the air. Wee Tom grabbed it. He ran through to the living room, to the big living room, and there, where his uncle was sitting reading the paper, his whole body became like a catapult. His knees bent, his eye was open and closed. His nose was up and down, his chin was side to side. And then he put the little eraser on his finger like this, and he leant back like one of these great fencers that you can see in the Olympics that started many years ago in a far and distant strange land called Greece or Turkey or somewhere like that. Anyway, it doesn't matter where it started, that's where they were. And then he let this go, and it went flying through the air. And as it went flying through the air, it hit the newspaper with a delicious thwacky noise like this. Slowly, very slowly, the uncle put the newspaper down like this. He was not happy. He was growly. You could have torn the paper. Now, we, Tom, you know, I want to buy a new car. You know, we need to check about the rugby. You know, we need to see when the circus comes to town, which, by the way, leads on to another story that we Tom stops the circus going on fire. Another story for another day. It was me, Tom's turn not to listen. You promised me a snowball fight if this. Uncle Dan said 2 words. It's war. It's not going to be a snowball fight. It's going to be a snowball war. Wee Tom's right legs started running to the right. Wee Tom's left leg started running to the left. At the same time, he had to get ready. He always wears something red, which is why I always have something on that will be red if I'm telling Wee Tom, oh, red trousers. Oops, red on my socks. Red wall behind me. Wee Tom pulled on his red Wellingtons, gumboots, and then with his jacket zipped up, his hat on back to front, his hood up over it, his gloves on, he ran to the back door of the house. Now, the back door of the house is locked with a key. It is secured with a chain and it is fastened with a bolt. Key, chain, bolt. He ran at that door. Now, he's only this size. He can't get up there to open that stuff. And he is not magic. He's not magic. But he ran at that door. And when he was a meter and a half from that door, he dived at that door like this and he shouted, Geronimo! And he went straight through the door because at the bottom of the door is a little cat flap. The cat flap, they don't have a cat. A cat would eat Wee Tom. The cat flap is to let that boy go from the house to the garden to the house without disturbing the adults. And because Glasgow can be a tough city, you need a key, you need a bolt, and you need a chain. And with that all done, Wee Tom got out into the garden and he started to make the snowballs. And he started making them and he would listen for a rattle of the key. He would listen for a jiggle of the chain. He would listen for the slide of the bolt. And then he would, as soon as Uncle Dan opened that door, he would whack him and whack him and declare the score 2-0, 2-0. Uncle Dan is not a mug. Uncle Dan went over to the kitchen window and saw what Wee Tom was doing. Catch him once? Fair enough. Catch him twice? Has never happened in the 80 stories I've written about these two. You cannot catch Uncle Dan out twice. Uncle Dan can do all kinds of things. He can speak foreign languages. He can do acrobatics. He can walk backwards. He can do tightrope walking. He can juggle. He can fence. He can skim stones. And walking backwards through the house, he put on his outdoor clothes. He went to the front door of the house and with his elbow and his hip, because he's a man who knows the difference between the two, he pushed down the door handle. He pushed out the door and he tiptoed into the garden. And this was how much noise he made from the front garden to the side garden to the back garden. He didn't make a sound. And then at the back garden there, he picked up a huge snowball, the biggest snowball there's ever been in any, not really a snowball, a snow bomb. Yeah. He picked up the biggest snow bomb. There's not really a snow bomb. a meteor of snow. He picked up this vast quantity of snow and squished and squashed and squished and squashed and squished and squashed and squished all the air out of this thing. And then he threw it and he shouted, Geronimo! He shouted, Geronimo! Wee Tom looked up. Well, the sky was pale blue. Then everything was white. Then everything dark. Uncle Dan declared the score. 1-0, 1-0, 1-0, 1-0. I told you Wee Tom's favourite colour was red. Well, he was red with rage when he came out of that snow. In this hand, there was a tiny snowball. In this hand, there was a tiny snowball. And with these two snowballs, he threw them and they crisscrossed in midair like this. 2-1, 2-1. And soon these pals were having the best time you can ever imagine, throwing snowballs and tumbling. Now, when the snow comes, if it comes to your country, Daniel knows it, Demyagin knows it, Popov knows it, Canadians know it. Don't know where you are, Michael. They don't have it much in California. You don't have it in Greece. And who knows about, actually, who does know about England? So there you go, with all this snow going on. In Scotland, snow is deep and it's rare because we're on the Gulf Stream. We don't have a lot of snow and we don't have it for a long time, so we can't afford to waste it. So this wee boy and his favourite uncle have to capitalise on the snow. Don't waste it throwing snowballs at dogs or cats or passing buses. You get your friend and you have a great time. At one point, Uncle Dan threw quite a... Now, Uncle Dan's snowballs are big and Wee Tom's snowballs are the size of pearls. But he's accurate. Uncle Dan threw this big snowball at Wee Tom and he dived like a goalkeeper. And we got up. When he got up, there was not a sign of Uncle Dan. Anyway, not anywhere. Wee Tom looked all around, in front, behind. No sign of him. Wee Tom was smart and he looked on the ground and he saw these big footprints going up the side of the garage and behind the garage. And behind the garage, there was a big, tall pine tree things. And they were dripping snow down, dripping snow down, dripping snow down, dripping snow down. Wee Tom knew where Uncle Dan was. Wee Tom took a snowball and he threw it right up there to the very apex of the roof, the very summit, the very crest, the very top. It doesn't matter what we call it, that bit there that goes from the front to the back where the roof joins. The man that came to me said, we'll call it 500 quid for cash, but let's not do that. Just there, right there. And this snowball landed and it started to roll. And as it rolled, it got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And Wee Tom shouted, Uncle Dan, look at... Whoa! Bullseye. Uncle Dan took a snowball instinctively, threw it up, and it landed on the other side of the ridge, of the crest, of the apex of the summit, here. And it started to roll down. And it was vast when it started. It became enormous. It became gigantic. It became humongous. It became unbelievably large. And when that landed in Wee Tom, splat. Faharty, you don't know this. Wee Tom is only the size of Wee Tom Thumb. He's a tiny, tiny wee boy. And this massive snowball has landed on it. Uncle Dan came round saying, well, what do you think of that? Nothing. No sign of Wee Tom. Big, big mound of snow. And then you could hear tapping from inside the snow, like this. It was SOS. It was a Morse code. Help me, save me, save me. Uncle Dan, help me, save me, save me. Uncle Dan realised that Wee Tom was in this, trapped in this huge avalanche. Very dangerous avalanches. So he bent down and he started to blow. And as he started to blow, blow, as he started to blow that snow away, he saw what was making the noise. It was wee Tom's wee knees knocking together. He was so cold. I'm so cold. I'm so cold. I'm so cold. I'm so cold. Uncle Dan put his fingers into wee Tom's armpits like this and just lifted him straight out of his boots. His red, favourite colour, red. His red boots were left in the snow and they made a kind of going to the toilet noise. Plop, plop. And he put wee Tom in his pocket. And he said to wee Tom, we need to get you changed. You are soaking wet, man. Uncle Dan went into the front of the house. It wasn't locked up. He had snibbed up the door and secured it. So with his elbow and his hip, he was in the house. He kicked off his Wellingtons and he put wee Tom on the kitchen table with 3 rules. 3 do nots, do nots, do nots. Do not fall off the table. Do not eat the sugar. Do not sit on the cutlery and get jagged. In another story that happened. Uncle Dan gave wee Tom a saucer, and then he gave him socks, he gave him trainers, he gave him boxers, he gave him an undershirt, he gave him a polo shirt, and he gave him blue jeans. The polo shirt is red, wee Tom's favourite colour. He put these clothes beside wee Tom, and then he said to wee Tom, I'm going to get changed. When I come back, I want you to be changed. Uncle Dan went up to his old room, took his wet clothes off, put them away, and got changed. And he came down and he saw wee Tom. And wee Tom was changed. And he said, Uncle Dan, that was great fun. My adrenaline's all going. I am up for it. Can we have adventure? Uncle Dan thought about adventure. And then he went over to the desk drawer in the kitchen. And there's a long, narrow drawer and a long, narrow table. And he opened it. And everything you ever need in a story is in that drawer. It's like Norman Perrin's bag. Everything you need is in that drawer. Envelopes, compasses, rulers, pencil sharpeners, money, keys. And there was a pack of 5, wee Tom's favourite number. He's got 5 names: Thomas, Patrick, James, O'Neill, Thumb. A pack of 5 balloons, the big, giant red ones. And Uncle Dan took the last balloon, which was red. It was a pack of red. And he blew it, and he blew it, and he blew it, and he blew it, and he 5 times blew it. And he tied it with that delicious, rather rude farting noise that balloons can make in Russian. Pierdiet. And then he gave the balloon to wee Tom. Now, wee Tom is tiny. The balloon is massive, massive. So, what can you do? String. They need string. And they hunted high and low for string, inside and out for string. When I say high, I mean right into the loft. When I say low, I mean in the cellar. Inside and out, all over the house, all over the garage, in the garden shed. And they didn't find a decent piece of string that they could use. And then Uncle Dan saw wee Tom's trainers. On his training shoes, on his sneakers, there, on his very feet. And he took the lace out of one of the shoes and tied the balloon and the lace together. Now, please don't ask any questions. Was the balloon tied to the lace, or was the lace tied to the balloon? They were tied together. I don't know, right? They were just tied together like that. And he gave wee Tom the shoelace to hold. Now, the specific gravity and density of the volume of air within the balloon had a mass 5 times that of the child. Do you know what that means? It means he goes up in the air. Did I mention the window was open? Have I mentioned the window was open? When I say the window's open, you should do this. Dun, dun, dun. He went up in the air. The window was open. Uncle Dan dived to save wee Tom. Now, if you get the chance to save somebody, you grab them by the hip. You grab them by the knee. You grab them by the ankle. Don't do what Uncle Dan did. Uncle Dan grabbed that wee boy by the training shoe, by that little sneaker, the one with no lace. And there he was, like an extra in a pantomime version of Cinderella, holding the shoe. And the wee boy went up and up and up and up and up. And he could see everything. And I mean everything. McPhee, he could see the Golden Gate Bridge. Despina, he could see the Acropolis. Genders, do you know what he could see? He could see Lichfield Cathedral. Do you know, tell you this, Daniel, do you know what he could see? Kama River. Demyagan, do you know what he could see? He could see the Tower of Death at the top of Tom Samolsky Prospect. He could see pretty much everything, Fahad. I don't know where you come from. I'm going to say you could see the River Liffey. He could see all kinds of things. And there, below him, running out of the bank, he saw 4 robbers with 4 guns and 4 bags of money. And they came rushing past. And just passing there on the pavement, on the sidewalk beside them, there was an old lady. And she was just going about her business. And these cruel robbers smashed her to the ground. And they went into the car. And there was 20s twirling. There was 50s flying. There was 5ers fluttering. And 10ers turning in the air as they went into their car. And they just drove. You watching this? Right through my story. And out the other end. Wee Tom started swimming through the air. Back at base camp at the house, Uncle Dan was in a panic. His sister, wee Tom's mum, is going to go crazy if that wee boy's lost. So he phoned the police. He said, emergency services, yeah, what do you need? And he said, oh, I'm not very sure. Well, is there a house on fire? Do you need a fire brigade? Is there a cat stuck up a tree? No, nothing like that, okay. Somebody had a heart attack. Going to have a baby. Somebody there going to have a baby. Do you need an ambulance? No, I don't need an ambulance. Nobody here's going to have a baby. Anybody been murdered? Houses burgled? Robbed? You don't need the police. You're wasting time. But it's wee Tom, his famous wee guy. He's up holding onto a shoelace tied onto a balloon, and I don't know where he is. He's away traveling the world. I need to get him back. And she said, he'll be fine. Now, when I say he'll be fine, you have to say she was wrong. He'll be fine.
She was wrong. She was wrong.
Absolutely. Daniel, по-русски, пожалуйста. She was wrong.
Она была не права.
And there he was, up in the air. Coming towards him, there was a crow from the north, and one from the south, one from the east, and one from the west. And Uncle Dan heard that woman saying, he'll be fine in Greek.
Έκανε λάθος.
In Peruvian Spanish. Oh, she can't talk. She's at work. Marlon, what do they say in wherever you come from? California, eh? Mike, what do you say for she was wrong?
She wasn't right.
She wasn't right. Marvelous. Thank you, Mike. So, we Tom watched these bank robbers driving right through the story. And then he saw them going into a little lane. And in this little lane, there was a furniture van, a removal truck, a U-Haul. And one of the robbers took a remote control on a telephone like this. Also red, by the way, see that? And pressed it at that furniture van. And the whole side of the furniture van opened. And the robbers just drove straight in. And closed it. And the only person in the whole world, from California to the edges of Siberia, that's what we're covering tonight. That's it. Absolutely nobody knew that this was not a furniture van. It was a furniture van, but it was also a robber's den. And we Tom knew that. From the north came a crow. From the south came a crow. From the east came a crow. From the west came a crow. And they were starving hungry. Luckily for wee Tom, they didn't want to eat wee Tom, but they could easily eat him. But they wanted to eat this enormous, gigantic, huge, red, shiny balloon that they thought was a genetically modified tomato. Or if you think about it, a very genetically modified banana. This big, gigantic red thing with a little boy hanging below it. And as soon as the beak touched that balloon, what a pop. It blew their feathers off. And there they were in their cheap underpants. All the feathers came off, all the crows, and they had to fly back to the north, back to the south, back to the west, back to the east. Now, physics will tell you that wee boy is not holding on to this gas chamber anymore. He's holding on to a shoelace. I wrote this story, and my problem was getting Uncle Dan to save that wee boy. I can put him on a jet ski, I can put him in a helicopter, I just made him run. And he ran, and he ran, and he ran, and he ran, and he ran until he was in that park. And there in that park, he pulled off his hat and stuck it out like that. And wee Tom landed in the hat. Uncle Dan, wait till I tell you this. Uncle Dan, wait till I tell you that. Uncle Dan, wait till I tell you the next thing. And he told his uncle about the robbers running out the bank, bashing down the old lady, going into the car, the money flying all over the street. He's swimming through the air, seeing them going into and driving right through Michael Kerins' story. Can you imagine Uncle Daddy did that? And out the other end. Uncle Dan heard the whole story. Wee Tom can make things up. He has a gift for hyperbole. He loves exaggerating. And he said, tell me that again. 8 times, 5 times he told the story. And the story was unembellished. And I know where they are in this furniture van. And I know where the furniture van is. And rather than ask for a 6th version, Uncle Dan said, tell him. And he pointed, and there at the park gates was a policeman called Hamilton and a dog called Sherlock, after a very, 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 very famous Scottish detective, Sherlock Holmes. That's the name of the dog. And the dog just called Sherlock. And Sherlock and Officer Hamilton were out doing their exercises in the park. Told the whole story. And the policeman said, and what's the name of the street that this is in, this wee lane? What's the name of it? Wee Tom said, I don't know. I'm only a wee boy. I know the name of my street, and I know the name of the street where my school is, but I don't know street. things like that. But I can show you on a map. Well, policemen have lots of pockets and stuff like that. And inside the pocket of this was an atlas, a little pocket atlas. And Uncle Dan held wee Tom up like this, and wee Tom jumped onto the book. And he told the policeman where it was. That's it there. Honey Tree Lane. Are you sure? I'm sure. Are you certain? I'm certain. No kidding. No kidding. Is it? The policeman radioed headquarters and they sent wee Tom's favourite number, 5 groups of cops to catch these robbers. Wee Tom's favourite colour, red-handed. One lot went to the front, one lot went to the back, one lot went to the left-hand side, one lot went to the right-hand side, and on above them all, on a helicopter, was another bunch of cops. And they burst in, and they caught the robbers in the middle of just dishing out the money. Some to you, some to you, some to you, loads for me. That was how they were doing it. Some to you, some to you, some to you, loads for me. Some to you, some to you, some to you, loads for me. And at that, the police burst in when one of the robbers was saying, hey, boss, how come we get some and you get loads? And he grabbed on like this. Because I'm the boss. And he, McDade, Duffer McDade, a wicked and cruel man. Well, they were caught red-handed, wee Tom's favourite colour, and they were put in jail. The old lady got taken to hospital, got her leg repaired and all that kind of stuff. And the policeman and Uncle Dan and wee Tom and the dog, Sherlock, after the famous detective, were still in the park when the policeman got a message. I said, what? Wee Tom's to get a reward? Not from me. I've got £5. I have 5 units of currency here. £2.50 for a snack for me, £2.50 for a snack for the dog, because we are working. Wee Tom's like this, it's okay. It's fine. I don't need a snack. I don't need a biscuits. I don't need present that costs money. Do you see that dog? I want to sit on that dog like it's a giant horse. And I want to horse ride that all the way home. And when we go running through the park, through the snow, virgin snow that nobody's been on, I want to be first to run right across it. When the snow is pulling the branches down, I want to jump over it. And when the traffic has made the puddles of snow all slushy, I want to go splish, splash, splosh, all the way home. And the policeman said, absolutely not. That's not a toy. That dog, Sherlock, is a working police officer. He gets a salary, and when he retires, he'll have a pension. You can't ride that like a toy horse. Not unless you could horse ride. And at the end of this book, it tells you just what happened. Word for word. Wee Tom was not allowed to ride the horse, not unless he was a good horse rider. Well, Wee Tom is an excellent horse rider. So if you want to know how Wee Tom learned to horse ride, then just ask me. But that, like the circus coming to town, is another story for another day. That's the end of Wee Tom and the Bank Robbers. That's the book. Do you want to see some of the illustrations? Hi, Maria. So you'll never see Uncle Dan. You just see bits of Uncle Dan's anatomy. That's him holding Wee Tom. That's a snowball fight. That's Wee Tom's snowball. See them the size of a pearl? Uncle Dan's snowball fights. That's Wee Tom inside the big mound of snow that came off the garage. That's Uncle Dan safe in his wee Tom safe in his uncle's chest, like this. It's like the zip of this jacket. That's the balloon. That's the word fart that children love. They just love this word. Fart. I think you could have a page of just fart and underpants. If it was just that was all, or poo or something like that, that'd be great. There's the word string, the fundamental to the story. When I'm doing stylized writing workshops for teachers, that comes in a lot. That's floating. That's a whole lesson in physics there, up and out of the window. Did I tell you the window was open? The window was open. That's him flying across. Then he sees the robber's car. Anybody here nervous? If you're nervous, you should look away now. That's the bank robbers. We were doing wanted posters in the school one time, and this guy here with the eyebrows, one wee boy said that this guy looked like his granny's old boyfriend. That's the old lady there. And this is this horrible crew who, look at this, driving right through my story from one page to the other like this. Wicked creatures. Bad enough robbing banks, but wasting stories, let me tell you. And then, what's next? Wee Tom sees the thing. Oh, Mike, I need to talk to you about that. It's not Wee Tom. It's not Wee Tom. It's Wee Tom. All one word and always in red. Although I'll let you away with the red and the malarkey here. That's the furniture wagon. I think, Marlon, you call them U-Hauls. There they come from the north and the south and the east and the west. You ready for underpants? And here, you should see this here. Bang, do you see it? B-A-N-G. Now, in Scotland, balloons bang. In England, I think they pop. I have no idea what they do in Greece.
They boom.
Boom. So this is a bang. So anyway, this is when I talk to children about stylized script, we do this kind of thing with them and they get to write their name and all that kind of stuff. It's really good. Daniel, how does a balloon bang in Russian?
Maybe хлоп, something like this.
Can you put it in the text? По-русски?
Yes.
Спасибо. So there you go. And then he falls into the hat, and we know it's Ushanka, Shlapa, so Ushanka. This is a Russian hat that he falls right into the hat because it says here, property of Uncle Dan. I've got two different Daniels and none of them are Popov. Which Daniel are you?
I'm from the same year as this Daniel.
What's your surname?
Litvinov.
Litvinov.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
I know who you are. Yeah. there's the policeman. There's the dog. A lot of people don't know that Sherlock Holmes at Conan Doyle was actually Scottish. And there's a whole thing here on semantic pathways. Bigger than, wider than, longer than, and so on like that. Great fun. And then there's the policeman. He's very skeptical, but he's got the atlas. And wee Tom jumps over And there these in the newspapers, not for the first time, but they're caught red-handed. And there's the very cliffhanger ending. That's it. Thank you.
So it's this little guy, is it not?
Yeah, where did you get that?
Ah, you will never guess. It was brought to me by a little birdie in
Really?
Marrakesh.
Did I give you this in Marrakesh?
Of course you did.
Right, okay, okay. That's interesting.
Plus the book of Wee Tom and the Robbers.
So you have this book?
I do.
Right.
I was looking for it, but I think that my daughter has put it somewhere. I couldn't find it.
In the bin. So how was that? I know that this program, everybody here is adult. Probably the youngest person here is Artem. Artem, skoka late.
20.
20. So I think you'll be the youngest here. You want another story?
Well, if it's a quick one, it's up to you. It's
Right.
a quarter to.
So was that one story for 40 minutes? Really? Gosh.
Yeah, well, what it was an adventure, all right.
So I'll tell you another story. I heard this story just last week from Richard Hamilton that I met in Marrakesh. But I heard him on the radio 10 years ago speaking about storytelling dying in Marrakesh. And I actually, it took me to Marrakesh 10 years ago, the first time. Second time I'd been to Morocco, but the first time I'd been to Marrakesh. Anyway, it doesn't matter. How deserts are made. Do you know? The Sahara Desert stretches from pretty much Morocco all the way to Egypt, across the sea to Yemen, Aden, and that's all the one gigantic desert. And in the before times, a long time ago, before even my joke book was printed, a long time ago, that place was completely green. And the world was young and fresh, and the people who lived there were happy. And that nobody had any reason to be unhappy because they were content, their lives were full, and lying hadn't been invented. Nobody told lies. And everything was green and luscious as these beautiful plants here that make my life happy and contented. But just once it happened that a man, or maybe it was a woman, anyway, somebody found it convenient to bend the situation, not lie, just not the truth. And God in heaven was not happy. So he stretched down a hand and gave a grain of sand to the man or woman or whoever it was who had been economical. And the person said, well, what's this? I've never seen this before. It's pretty firm. It's pretty small. What am I spat it out. I don't like the taste. Nothing to smell. What did I do with it? She said, oh, I didn't like that, so I'm giving you this grain of sand because you were economical with the truth. But the economy with the truth led to lying. And every time that man told a lie, God came down and gave him a grain of sand. And it tasted the same, no taste, smelt the same, no smell. It was awkward, it was uncomfortable. He didn't know what to do with it, so he threw it away. But by practicing the lying, other people got to find it convenient to lie, profitable to lie, useful to lie. And every time a lie was made, God in heaven gave down a grain of sand. And the people didn't know what to do with it. So they threw it, and 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 they 30 times threw it. And it started to build up, and 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 build up, until from Morocco all the way across to the Red Sea and beyond, awful, sad lies. But there, if you look carefully, you'll see oasis. For where there is lies, there is also truth. There's also honest people. And God's tears fell for the honest people. And every now and again, there was an oasis there, and people will flock to the truth. And the oasis became places where people wanted to go, because truth will grow, truth will flourish, and truth will feed. And that's the story of how deserts were made, according to Richard Hamilton, according to a guy who told him that.
What a lovely story, Michael. You know, we might not know much about snow here in Greece, but we do know about sand, let me tell you. And even though it is irritating and it tends to get everywhere when you go swimming, in the desert, in the oasis, hopefully, where our good friend John Rowe must be heading as we speak, he will probably get to see more stars at night in the sky than all of us combined in the cities and towns where we're staying.
I've never seen the star soup, and I've 3 times sailed across the Atlantic. And every time it's been cloudy or bad weather or something like this.
Let's hope John gets luckier. So, replacing John Rowe, as I am supposed to do today, I should tell you that we've had a lovely time with Michael today. Let's give him a round of applause, yeah? Applause.
Can't hear you.
I would give you a standing ovation, but I will get out of the camera.
I'll stand up and receive it. What a good judge of character you are.
One word.
What a great judge of character you are as an audience.
So apparently, on Tuesday coming, there will be International Young Tellers at 5 p.m. UK time. And next Friday, we will have another magnificent storyteller whose name escapes me right now, but I know that whoever comes next Friday will be brilliant. Not as brilliant as Michael, but maybe, but you know, don't miss it. Another chance for brilliant storytelling next Friday for kids or kids at heart. So thank you, Michael, for a wonderful storytelling gig.
You're welcome. I'm just cutting the comments in case you go away and I don't get the chance to read what people said. Oh, buggery. Do you have to copy each line at a time? Oh, I'm not doing that.
You should have a thing at the bottom that says save contents. 3 dots, and if you press them, it should pop up saying save chat.
Save chat?
And that's
Who
all.
said that? Who said that?
Zoom. Zoom said that.
That's amazing. I never knew that. That's marvelous. Thank you very
Makes
much.
it easy, doesn't it?
Where are you?
In Reading now, but of Scottish origin.
I hear it.
How do you hear it? I've got a proper English accent.
Yes,
Oh, you have,
Oh.
mate. Oh, you have, mate. End of the truth. End of the truth.
when the lady wasn't he right, I think we all understood.
No, it's in there, son.
Used to be ginger, but now I'm not.
Me too.
Isn't it a
used-
blessing going white?
I used to be hairy.
Same here.
No, but I just recently shaved it all off. Just like it was. How long was it, girls? That length?
Pretty long.
Yeah, it was down kind of to there,
Hmm.
but there was so little of it because I'm baldy, and I started growing it in COVID times. Nicola Sturgeon sent me home from school with everybody else this particular Friday when the lockdown started, and I got my hair cut. And I went away, and then the head teacher said to me, just invoice me for today and come back in 2 or 3 weeks and we'll get this all sorted out. COVID. And that was my last haircut for about 3 years until I sold it just a few weeks ago for more than £1,000 for charity.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Of course, when you had it that long, you needn't have been baldy because you could have put it across and back and across and back.
That's the worst ever. That's the worst ever. No, I had it in a very untidy ponytail, but it was a lot of hard work. It takes so long to dry stuff.
Well, Christine and I had a long beard until very recently, but then we decided that it was getting too hot for a beard, so it's just us girls again now.
Are you going to shave it all off?
You know, I'm expecting to see what Christine does, and then I just imitate her. So it's been a lovely evening, afternoon, UK evening time, Greece. So thanks again, Michael. It was lovely, both stories, the long one and the wee one. And well, people can find with Tom if they look for it, I think. Many different adventures.
Oh, yeah, I need to tell Mike about that. He's very, very fussy about this. In Russia, he's called Malchik Spalchik.
It's got another name.
Yeah.
Mm.
But this guy is wee Tom like this. It's all one word. It's all lowercase. It's always written in red, and it's slightly smaller font size. And he's fussy as anything, man.
Yeah.
When schools write and they use the word we as an adjective, I get hell from him for not explaining it to people. I'm doing a wee program in Corsham in Wiltshire near Swindon. I'm doing a wee program with them after the summer holidays. So I wrote 5 things you should know about wee Tom. So
That's John's country, isn't it? Swindon. John's down there.
oh, right. Yeah, I think she is. I don't know John terribly well. I only met John for the first time in February, I think, when I went to Morocco.
Yeah.
Well, let's wish she has a fabulous night at the desert. I'm so jealous, so jealous.
And
So,
wraps up warm.
We should not forget, I forgot it last time, to thank Walid for helping with all the tech stuff or flying.
Bravo, Wally. Well done.
And you give
I'd
our
like to
kids
thank my 3
Marrakesh a big
Russian
kiss.
students, Daniel, and Artem. So thank you for that, for coming. Maria, lovely to see you or not see you. Mike, nice to meet you. Despina, great job. Well done. You're indistinguishable, honestly.
We are, aren't we?
It's hard to
I
believe.
got rid of that. Otherwise, you couldn't tell us apart.
If it was a red top hat, I wouldn't have noticed the difference, really.
There you go. Okay, guys.
Right,
Have a
bye-bye,
nice
guys.
night.
Cheerio.
Anya, spasibo bolshoi. See you later.
See
Goodbye.
you. Bye.
Ciao, Michael.
Пока.